Yo YouTube, what's going on, and welcome back to another video. Pacific Stage 1, EMEA Stage 1, Stage 1, Stage 1, Stage 1. This is where we're at. Santiago's concluded, of course. We briefly talked about that in the last video regarding Vito. So coming into Stage 1, we've got a couple changes. Of course, the sky buff we mentioned, but at the time of recording this, Riot Games has released a nerf regarding Waylay with the Saturate. It takes time to equip it now, which might actually change some things up quite a lot. Certain teams now might want to run the single neon, maybe raise, who knows. I think this only makes the meta 10 times more open now, because you could run a double duelist with like a raise neon or a jet neon or something along those lines. I mean, it's going to be really interesting to see what some of these teams cook up. But regardless, this is a pick'em video, so we are going to be doing EMEA, Pacific, and Americas, even though America starts late. China I have done, because I will be casting a couple of the games each week for the English channel, which is always going to be pretty exciting. So hopefully by the end of Stage 1, I'll have a much more better understanding of China, and I'll feel like I can actually give my input on them, because as of right now, I'm still kind of learning the ropes within China, I'll be honest. But hey, let's get straight into it. So Genji versus Global coming into week 1. Now, I think this is going to be a banger of a game, because I think both of these teams have very interesting coaches, I guess. You know, HSK and Solo from Genji always like to bring in new things, and I think the time that Genji got off during kickoff is only going to help them massively, especially in these earlier weeks. In terms of practicing maps like Lotus and Fracture, they're going to have so much more time compared to like a Nongshim and Paper Rex. But also in terms of the meta and comps, they can cook up different stuff, you know, especially Global. They were running a lot of Vito compositions during kickoff. So, hey, Frost, if you want to bring out the Vito in this meta, I would love to see it. I'll analyze every single game. So yeah, this is going to be a tricky game. I think, honestly, it could go either way. I do have my stocks maybe higher in Global, though. I think Genji have a real big identity crisis in a sense. I think losing Munchkin at the end of last year and, you know, bringing in Zinx is going to make things interesting still. But who knows? It's Genji. I'd love to see both of these teams succeed regardless. But I do feel like Global will be taking the edge here. T1 coming against Varel. Varel were very disappointing during kickoff. I think I watched them in some of the off-season tournaments like the Soup and I guess just Ascension in general. I think they're going to be pretty good in this meta. I do think that this could be a major upset for T1. However, it is T1. I don't think I can doubt them with the firepower that they have on their squad. And I think with Buzz and Izu really diving into that double duelist, the team can really kind of now feel comfortable with that kind of meta. I just have a lot of confidence in them. Nongshim versus Paper X. I mean, we have a Masters Santiago rematch, you know. I think Paper X might be able to take the cake here. Just with the map pool changes, I do think that Nongshim, in theory, should have had a lot more time off compared to Paper X. But honestly, it could go either way. I do think that the Yoru changes are going to impact a lot of these teams in their own unique ways. But I do believe that Nongshim probably will have one of the hardest kind of identities to reestablish. Don't get me wrong, I loved Francis on the Initiator back last year. You know, he could play anything. I think he's even played Harbor before, right? So both of these teams could come in with some crazy new cooked up comps, and I'm excited for that. But I think we're going to go Paper X taking the lead with this one. Full Sense versus DFM. I'm going to invest heavily into the full sense stocks right now. I think even with Cruz coming back in as a player, I think the experience that he would have gained being the team's coach will also maybe give him a little bit more insight. And I think flexing him straight into the team will be so easy and very simultaneous that it'll just work on wonders. Team Secret versus DRX. DRX aren't even called DRX anymore, are they? They're called like KRX, which is crazy, but hey ho. We're going to go for DRX. Team Secret, sinking ship. I really hope that these new rookies are able to bring the team a little bit more confidence, give them a few more upset wins. But I think DRX are just going to be dominant as usual. RRQ versus Zeta Division. Same again. I think that Pacific have some very... For Masters London, there's so many teams that could go. RRQ, DRX potentially, Full Sense. You got a Paper X, a Nongshim, T1, and maybe even sneak in a global there. It's going to be super exciting to watch this region during stage 1. Now, let's go over to Americas. We have Sentinels versus Crew. Now, this is interesting because there's a part of me, if this is the Crew, I'm going to go Sentinels, but I think this is a 60-40 game for Sentinels, and I think Crew, with their actual roster, could heavily upset Sentinels and make their lives a lot more stressful in the first week of kickoff, or stage 1, sorry. Sadak, less right? I mean, this roster's just, it's so underrated, and because we've not seen it, because of course they had visa issues, I think it's just going to shock a lot of people. Regardless, G2 versus MIBR. I'm going to go MIBR. I think MIBR have had a lot more time to cook, but also kind of fix some of the micro issues that they may have had as a team in kickoff. It's going to be exciting to see both of these teams, but I also just feel like MIBR just have a bit more firepower. So let's see. It'll be interesting to see if either of these teams do go for the chamber. I could see them putting Tex on it, maybe Yezekin. Who knows? 100 Thieves versus Evil Geniuses. 100 Thieves is an easy pick. I think 100 Thieves, I really love what the coaching staff were able to do in this first kind of little stint. Timotino is a prodigy, and I cannot wait to see more of 100 Thieves. If you wanted me to select an upset going to London, I would probably say 100 Thieves as well. Envy versus Loud. That's pretty difficult, man. I don't have any faith in either of these teams. I mean, who is even on the Envy roster anymore, man? Kesnet, Demon One, Poppin. No, is it? No, it's not even Poppin, is it? Oh, I don't know. Let's just eeny, meeny, miny, mo, catch a baby by its toe. If it squeals, let it go. Eeny, meeny, miny, mo. So is it Loud? Okay, let's do Envy. Let's pick the favorites. Why not? Cloud9 versus Leviathan. I like both of these teams. I think Leviathan, people were sleeping or hating on Leviathan, but honestly, I get the criticisms with Owner, but I still feel like this team has such a high skill ceiling with the talent that they have. And I think that King is going to be able to fix their issues pretty quickly with Owner. So I'm going to go for an upset with Leviathan. Furia versus NRG. NRG. I think Furia are going to have a very... I'd be surprised if they can qualify for another international event. Don't get me wrong. I think their gameplay and everything is lovely. I really like their idea of how they've built the team in terms of a bunch of underdogs, no real big egos or like personalities. I think it works well. But I do feel like they probably got lucky qualifying for the event through the upper bracket against teams that were also still trying to figure their stuff out. And let's go straight over to EMEA, which will be happening today. Fnatic versus Eternal Fire. I think Fnatic, they probably had a pretty rude awakening during kickoff. I think it rung some alarm bells, and I think that they've only used their time to the most effective, or the most effectively. Team Liquid versus Carmine Corp. I'm going to believe in Team Liquid because I'm pretty sure that Carmine Corp still don't really have a dedicated IGL, which is a big flaw for me. I think Nats, Wayne, I think the whole of the Team Liquid roster looked pretty good at Santiago. I think even getting that win over T1's a huge achievement. It'll be interesting to see what Narrate can do, and see what his kind of level is at within EMEA compared to America's. But yeah, Team Vitality versus Giant X. I think Vitality are actual favorites for this whole stage. Yeah, I think the addition of Sayonara is only going to make their team more complete. And I think this is everything that they've been waiting for. So I hope it doesn't disappoint like last year. Yeah, let's go with that. Gentlemates versus Foot. Let's go with Gentlemates. Heretics versus Na'Vi. I'm going to believe in Heretics. Coaching staff. I think Comeback just needs... I think he needed a really shit kickoff. Because I think he came in with a lot of pressure, a lot of nerves, and I think that now he's really been able to solidify himself within the team. And I think that watching other teams dominate at Santiago is only probably going to kind of light the fire within every single one of the players. But let's just not forget that they're basically the same team, just without Miniboo. And whilst I do think that Miniboo was a huge part of this team, I do feel like there were bigger pieces that you could have lost that would have gave you a bigger loss of impact, I guess. BBL versus Pacific. Now this is interesting because BBL will not be playing with LaRock. And Pacific is an exciting team to me just because of the talent alone. I mean, what? You have Seven, Cooper, Alorante, right? I might go for a punt and just say Pacific. Let's do that. Let's do that. Complete gamble. But let's see if it works. Anyway, that is my week 1 pick'ems for all 3 regions. I feel pretty good. I feel pretty confident. We'll go week by week and we'll just keep kind of poking and prodding at it. But I think stage 1's going to be really exciting. And I think it's only going to get more interesting with each week. Because I don't think that any single one of these teams is that boring or that big of a sleeper. I mean, a lot of teams have made roster adjustments. A lot of unproven teams from last year are now proven. You know, you look at Gentlemates, you look at BBL, Heretics that were one of the most dominant figures of last year are now kind of having their own struggles. So I think every team can cause an upset, and I think that is great entertainment for the fans of VCT. So yeah, let's leave it there. If you did like this video, like, subscribe, follow. Let me know if your thoughts in the comments below. Do you think I've thrown some of my pick'ems? I'm not really too bothered, to be honest. I always do this for fun, and I always like to kind of overthink what could possibly happen. I think especially with maybe Americas or Pacific, more so than EMEA, other than this last one. But yeah, that's going to be it for this video, and I'll see you in the next one.